Tonight, breaking right now, a major police operation is underway at Wayland. A man armed with a knife barricaded inside a property. Our police under attack. A rock thrown at a patrol car. A female officer in danger. Just one incident as teens run riot across the state. A man is stabbed to death in a driveway ambush in the city's west. Police tonight still hunting the killers. Killer cop Christian White back in court, now facing the possibility of time behind bars. 5 government staffers front the Dural caravan inquiry to avoid arrest. So what did they say? A high-stakes operation. Police on horseback bust a farmer accused of ripping off his employer. And you won't believe what he's alleged to have stolen. And the woman behind the glasses moves on and moves up. What is next for global fashion queen Anna Wintour?
Made in Sydney. This is 10 News First with Hugh Rimington.
Good evening. First up tonight in breaking news, an active police operation is underway right now at Wayland in Sydney's west. A man is barricaded in a property, threatening officers with a knife. Taylor Ryan is live for us in the newsroom with more details. Taylor, what more do we know?
Well, Hugh, this is a very volatile situation that's unfolding right now at Wayland. Let's take you straight to the pictures that have just come into the newsroom. Now, you can see the man in question here. He is yelling at police from a window while brandishing a large knife. It's still unclear exactly what has sparked this confrontation, but the man does appear extremely agitated. However, at other times, he appears to be communicating with police while eating a snack from a bowl. Police, though, they've responded in numbers. They are flooding Benara Avenue with tactical response teams, taking no chances here as they attempt to take him safely into custody. We've been told there is no threat to the public at this time, but the street will remain closed as this police operation continues tonight, Hugh. OK, Taylor, thank you. Well, sickening and disgraceful, that's how police are describing a teenage post and boast crime rampage targeting officers on the front line. The disturbing trend involves young people recording their own crimes for social media attention.
A car pulls up to a police patrol parked on the side of the road. A passenger gets out and hurls a massive rock through the windscreen. The officer inside shields themselves from the shattered glass.
I just want my members safe, and that's all I want to do so that my members can go to work and be confident that they can serve their communities without getting hurt, especially getting a brick thrown through the front windscreen of their car. That video from the weekend was published as part of a post and boast crime rampage in regional New South Wales. We won't tell you the name of the page because they don't deserve publicity, but many of their videos are taunting, even targeting police on the state's mid-north coast. Late this afternoon, officers executed a search warrant in Kempsey, arresting a 16-year-old boy who they identified from the social media footage.
I find it sickening. I feel quite protective towards our police. They shouldn't have to put up with this rubbish.
The Deputy Commissioner heads Operation Soteria, which launched 3 months ago. It's targeting teenage offenders between 11 and 16 in 9 regional crime hotspots, including Kempsey. It'll oversee Operation Regional Mongoose, which has been arresting, on average, 12 young people per week. And to crack down on these crimes motivated by social media clout, a post and boast offence was created just over a year ago, where certain crimes, if posted online, add an extra 2 years to a jail sentence. The message: police will throw the book at you, and the book could soon be even heavier.
We're reviewing the law at the moment.
Paris Martin for 10 News First.
2 people who stabbed a 21-year-old man to death in the driveway of a home in the city's west remain on the run tonight. Luke Manasseh was killed in what police say was a targeted attack. He was stabbed multiple times before desperately trying to drive away to get help.
21-year-old Luke Manasseh was a described hustler.
I love the idea of putting a building in the sky.
Last night, as he pulled into the driveway of this Pummelway home, 2 people were waiting for him, stabbing the 21-year-old multiple times.
He was attacked outside the premises. He's attempted to get away, however, succumbed to his injuries.
Just like really hysterical, like a woman screaming like multiple times. and then the guy just hopped in the ute and just drove as fast as he could down the road.
Luke was able to drive about 600 metres away from the two who stabbed him, but he died as nearby residents tried to save his life.
I thought it was safe here because it's new block, but now it's like worrying.
Police say this wasn't a random, extreme act of violence. It was targeted. Links between the incident and Sydney gangs are a strong line of inquiry for detectives.
The male and the location are known to police, so that will form part of our investigation.
The main focus for police is finding these two attackers. They were last seen running south on Driftway Drive and into bushland. That's where police searched today, but there's no sign yet of the two people responsible.
Information we have at the moment is there were two males in dark clothing.
So far, no leads as to who was behind this attack and why they wanted a young man dead. Samara Gardner for 10 News First.
The co-founder of the popular clothing retailer Universal Store has been killed during a house party. Greg Josephson was found dead at a Brisbane home shortly after 8 last night. A 15-year-old boy known to him is alleged to have stabbed him.
It's a tragic incident, and that will affect the family, the community as a whole, and other young persons who were at the house at the time, who are assisting us with inquiries, and were not involved in the situation at all.
Around 30 teenagers had been at the party. All were taken to a nearby police station. The 15-year-old has since been charged with murder. Taser cop Christian White could still face jail time despite avoiding prison earlier this year. Today, the state's chief prosecutor argued that his sentence was manifestly inadequate and did not accept that the police officer simply made a mistake.
Walking out of court a free man in March, Christian White didn't think he'd be back just 3 months later. Today, the Director of Public Prosecutions appealed the former police officer's sentence of 2 years community service over the death of 95-year-old Claire Nowland. White deployed his taser just 2 minutes and 40 seconds after arriving at Yallambee Lodge Nursing Home in Cooma in 2023. Mrs Nowland was holding a knife and had moved 1 metre. Chief Prosecutor Sally Dowling told the court she was extremely vulnerable, confused, physically very frail, very slow and quite unable to move swiftly. She says White responded in a fit of impatience with a truly senseless and violent act, which caused her to fall and die in hospital a week later. His defence barrister said it was a very nuanced situation which his client misread, but he argued the nurses at the home were fearful of being hurt. The hearing was expected to last 2 hours but took more than twice as long. Claire Nowland's family members flooded the public gallery as the prosecution argued the sentencing judge failed to give their statements adequate weight. One of Mrs Nowland's daughters said it made her question the very fabric of our society, not just a personal tragedy, but a failure of the systems that are supposed to protect the most vulnerable amongst us. 3 judges will now assess whether the sentence was too lenient. Sarah Naven for 10 News First.
5 senior state government staffers have avoided arrest by finally fronting an inquiry into the Dural caravan conspiracy. The advisers deny the Premier misled the public when he first described the discovery as terrorism. But they admit no one took notes during briefings from police.
5 empty chairs last week made this one of the most anticipated hearings in recent history.
Thank you all for finally being here.
5 staffers for the Premier and Police Minister changing their minds after being told they would be arrested and jailed under a law that has sat on the books unused for a century.
Receiving something like this, it's nerve-wracking, it's daunting.
Their advice was that we had just cause not to come.
Denying they were under orders.
And there was absolutely no formal or informal direction from the Premier. I must be really clear about that.
While they objected to being called.
We are staffers where our jobs are to support the politicians, not to be the face of things.
They've become the faces because their bosses refused to attend. The inquiry is investigating whether government hid the true nature of the Dural caravan threat as Parliament hurriedly passed anti-hate laws. Despite knowing there were other lines of inquiry, The Premier called it terrorism and a potential
mass casualty event.
The only person who has used terrorism to describe this discovery was the Premier.
The language potential mass casualty event was not a line dreamt up by the Premier. It was briefings from New South Wales Police.
But no notes were kept of those briefings.
I find it extraordinary.
These were not decision-making meetings.
Instead, arguing the timeline, claiming work had begun on the laws before the caravan was found. While they provided plenty of theatre, the staffers' evidence actually added little we didn't already know, which begs the question why put up such a fight about attending in the first place.
OK, yeah, right. Thank you for your evidence.
Lachlan Kennedy for 10 News First.
President Donald Trump's press secretary has now made it clear Washington wants Australia to spend more on defence. Despite that consistent pressure, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says as a nation, Australia has a right to choose how we spend our money.
From small talk in this suburban house...
There's a lot of attention on you today,
to big demands from the White House also drawing attention as Washington pushes Canberra to increase defence spending.
If our allies in Europe and our NATO allies can do it, I think our allies and our friends in the Asia-Pacific region can do it as well.
Emboldened by a deal with NATO countries to lift military funding to 5% of GDP, America's previously called for Australia to get to 3.5%. The current target's 2.3.
We've increased it by $57 billion over the medium term and by more than $10 billion in the short term.
This is not about being bullied. This is about doing the right thing for our great country.
The Prime Minister's sticking to his guns.
We will invest in the capability that Australia needs.
Dismissing concerns it could result in higher tariffs, which President Donald Trump's threatened Spain with for not joining NATO's pledge.
Oh, I think Spain's terrible what they've done. You know what we're going to do? We're negotiating with Spain on a trade deal. We're going to make them pay twice as much.
A former advisor to President Bush doubts that would happen to Australia because of the strong alliance, plus geopolitical tensions with China.
It is Australia's decision what to spend on defence, but the US has a clear interest in that. We're allies, and in any scrape, we'll probably be there together.
As for our specific relations in those discussions, I'll let the president speak on those.
Since rushing out of the G7 in Canada last week, the US president's now spoken directly with some of the world leaders he cancelled on. But not all. Anthony Albanese's office is still desperately trying to secure an in-person meeting in Washington and establish a personal relationship.
I hope it's heated.
Or in this case, the opposite. Chloe Boris for 10 News First.
Parents are being warned the use of sexually explicit AI-generated images is exploding in our schools. The technology is being used to bully classmates in and out of the classroom, with the East Safety Commissioner urging teachers and principals to report all cases to the police.
Advertised as trustworthy, these artificial intelligence websites are anything but.
You know, this is the sort of thing that can cause teachers to quit or young people to think about not wanting to go to school or worse.
Known as nudify apps, AI takes anyone's face to create a deepfake nude photo in just seconds. The tech now being used to bully school students.
It's very disturbing, and with rising violence against women in society, I think we need to stand up to prevent the objectification of our young women particularly.
The E-Safety Commissioner writing to all state and territory education ministers, urging them to report explicit deepfakes in our schools to police.
Like the calculator and the internet after that AI is going to be with us forever. And this is a tool. It's not something that we can just pretend isn't there, but we've got to make sure is used properly and ethically.
The issue high on the agenda during a meeting of education ministers in Adelaide, the first since the federal election.
The conversation that we're having today is broad and complex, and there's a lot of work to do.
The number of Australian children who've fallen victim to deepfake intimate AI photos has more than doubled in the past 18 months, but it's feared that number could be far higher. A toolkit for schools has been released, giving educators guidance to stop the scourge.
This is something that's come up that we've been unprepared for.
Matthew Carstunen for 10 News First.
Chloe Amanda Bailey is now here with us with sport, and Chloe, Souths is making moves to lock down Wayne Bennett.
Hugh, there is a fear that they could lose the master coach to the incoming Papua New Guinea franchise. More on that a little later. Also tonight, batting in Barbados isn't getting any easier, but is it top-notch bowling that has Australia's top order wobbling? And you won't believe the eye-watering extension Cristiano Ronaldo secured in Saudi Arabia. All that in sport, Hugh. You don't want to miss it.
I believe anything about Cristiano Ronaldo. Thank you, Cabby. Still to come, the owner of a Grafton farm says she is devastated after a friend and former employee allegedly tried to criminally profit from her prime beef. Police catch up with the so-called catching crew accused of planning to hook more than a ton of cocaine. And the moment a truck takes out a cherry picker, leaving a linesman hanging by a thread.